But all we have really over here is the fake news, right? And to get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news. And I don't mind that so much, because I don't mind that. So I have a piece of glass here. And the problem with that glass is I don't look great on television when you have a 4-inch piece of glass that a howitzer can't go through. No, when you see yourself on television, you say, boy, you're really not very recognizable, to be honest with you, which is good. But here's the problem. So I have glass here, I have glass here. Now, I'm not worried about this. Look, what do I have? A couple of people. And they're friends, generally. There are a couple of people I don't like in that group, but that's like, no, but look at it. Look at it. I have nobody here. What do I need this piece? But where I think I do need a piece is here. And I think, no, I'm a very smart person. You know, they refused it. You know, now they are saying, that was the most brilliant speech. They're saying, it's a weave, you go. And then you're here. And then what happens is while you're here, there's a point having to do with that point. And you go, wing, wing. Then you come here. Then you do another weave, hee, hee. And it's very complex, but then it gets very simple because it all comes brilliantly and beautifully together. And they actually acknowledge there's total genius there. They don't, not all of them do. Most of them are failed writers. They're not even good writers, okay? They're bad writers, so they don't understand the weave. They'll never be able to do it. But here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at cameras. The problem is, when you watch me tonight, you'll say, the president doesn't look that good. Well, how the hell do you look good? Look at the size of this sucker. Nice to see you. Thank you. So just to finish up on that list, because I don't want to waste a lot of time on the list, but it does seem sort of ridiculous, doesn't it? I don't need a piece here, fellas. I need a piece here. I need a piece. I'm not worried about these people. Maybe David. I'm worried about that. I don't need pieces. You know where I need a piece? Right there. Look, I got farmhouses. I got all sorts of see the guy up in the window back there? Has anybody inspected that? No, it's the whole thing. It's okay, it's okay. But it would be nice to have, you know, I'm trying to make a point and I'm trying to sell something. I'm telling the people that our leadership is grossly incompetent, that we're being ripped off by every country in the world, including our so-called friends. Our friends are far worse in many ways. In terms of trade, the European nations are just ripping us to shreds. Everyone says, oh, it's so nice, the European nations. They're very tough. They're very, very tough. You know, with trade, they don't take our cars. They don't take our farm products. They don't take anything.
And that there was former President Donald Trump making a campaign stop in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, as we were just 2 days away from election night. The president there speaking to a number of his supporters, as so many millions of Americans have already cast their ballots. Joining us for more now is Trump 2024 National Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. Thank you so much, Karoline, for being with us, especially to be able to talk to you right as the former president is still in the midst of his rally. We'll start with, he says that if elected, on day one, he will fire special counsel Jack Smith, who was prosecuting him for election interference, and free people convicted for their roles on the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Should we take him at his word on these first acts, Karoline?
When President Trump makes promises, he delivers on those promises. So the short answer is yes. And when it comes to other day one priorities, he has also promised to start launching the largest mass deportation operation of illegal immigrants that Kamala Harris has led into this country. She has allowed more than 20 million of them. We know there are nearly 500,000 convicted criminal illegal immigrants. They cannot be allowed to stay. President Trump is going to send them home. And also on day one, he's going to take executive action to secure our southern border, an executive action that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have refused to take over the past 4 years.
And Karoline, I appreciate you bringing up immigration, because over and over, Americans are telling us that that is a top issue for them when it comes to this election. But as you said, that when Donald Trump makes a promise that we should listen, that he typically follows through on those. Aside from saying on day one that he would have, you know, a list of enemies and other things, he also referred to himself as a dictator last year, saying that he would be one, but only on day one during an Iowa town hall. And he also told Fox News' Sean Hannity that he would never abuse power as retribution against anybody except for day one. So should we also believe him when he makes those promises?
Well, first of all, he's never said he has an enemies list. That's utterly false. The media has talked about that, but President Trump never has. He's talked about, like you just mentioned, Jack Smith and other far-left prosecutors who have abused their office in bringing baseless charges against the former president. That's a different conversation.
But exerting retribution nonetheless is what he was saying.
Well, when President Trump said that he was going to be a dictator on day one, it was a facetious comment. If you play the clip, he said it with Sean Hannity. He said, I'm going to do it on day one to drill, baby, drill, and to secure the border. Both things that can be done legally, constitutionally, with executive action. He's going to expedite permits for drilling, for natural gas, for nuclear, for fossil fuels in this country, so we can get our economy moving again and tackle inflation. That's what the president was referring to, in addition to his executive actions to secure the border and stop the flow of illegal immigrants into our country that we've seen over the past 4 years.
Yeah, I understand that. And again, appreciate you laying out the to-do list and things that he says and promises that he would do on day one, but did want to get your take on him referring to himself as a dictator and in using power as retribution. But you say that that was him being facetious. I want to ask you about, during this rally, the president and some of the language that he's been using. I mean, we heard some of the remarks about Liz Cheney and guns trained on her, but even him saying that, you know, that he's being nasty to the vice president because she's so bad, taking on Michelle Obama today, saying that we're never going to get the right people in. Is that the message that the president wants to send, this sort of a negativity or doom and gloom almost? Is that what he wants his final message to be?
The only doom and gloom is from the Harris campaign, who has been calling President Trump a threat to democracy. The Democrats have been doing that now for nearly 10 years, but the Harris campaign, that's their closing argument, likening President Trump to Hitler, referring to the tens of millions of Americans who support him as garbage, as we heard from the sitting president of the United States and Kamala Harris's top surrogate. Kamala Harris's other top surrogate, Mark Cuban, said that Republican women are essentially weak and dumb. So there's vitriolic rhetoric that is coming from the left. As for President Trump, you heard him give his closing argument in the first 2 sentences of his rally today. He said, Kamala Harris broke it and Donald Trump will fix it. And there was a raucous applause there in Pennsylvania when he said that, because that's what the American people want. A leader who is going to fix the problems that Kamala Harris has created over the past 4 years. And that's what President Trump is promising to do. And that's why we see very encouraging trends on our side of the aisle when it comes to the early vote. We've cut a 20-point deficit in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, where President Trump is speaking right now. We're leading the early vote in Arizona, Georgia,
but, you know, I want to ask you
North
about
Carolina
some of those states, because he's already beginning to push false claims about what's happening in elections, saying that this is a crooked county, that there are 2,600 ballots with the same penmanship in Pennsylvania, alluding to them being fake or all done by the same person. He says that it takes 4 hours to fill out a ballot in Nevada, that people are not having to show identification. He is pushing all of this misinformation about voting at a time when voters already already have so much anxiety around the election. And when U.S. intelligence officials are emphasizing that Americans are being bombarded by disinformation, like from Russia, China, Iran, as the former president did mention Russia being involved. But also they say voting machines aren't connected to the internet and they're safe. 90%, 97% of American voters will vote with ballots recorded on paper. So why is the former president pushing this misinformation?
He's not pushing misinformation. He's actually talking about real problems that are happening on the ground. And the reason we know about them is because the Republican National Committee has launched the greatest election integrity department this country has ever seen. And we've done that because we understand Americans have anxiety about the security of our elections. And it's our goal to secure the safety and security of this election, not just for Republicans, but for all Americans who want the ability to cast their ballot and know it's going to be legally counted. So let me walk you through a few of the facts in states that we have seen on the ground. The 2,600 voter registrations that President Trump was referring to, they were dumped in Lancaster County on the last day of voter registration, and we found that 60% of them were fraudulent. In 4 other counties in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, election officials reported a similar dump of thousands of voter registrations. In fact, in one county, the district attorney is investigating. There is a criminal investigation into these fraudulent voter registrations underway. Yesterday, we won a lawsuit in Georgia because election officials were denying poll observers and watchers, which is against the law. We also won a lawsuit in Bucks County because election officials were turning our supporters away from the polls early, which is against the law. There is real election fraud taking place. We are catching it, and we are filing litigation, and we are winning that litigation.
And Karoline, officials are absolutely reassuring Americans that our elections are secure. They say that the disinformation that's being pushed by, Iran, Russia, and China, they're saying that they are fake videos of someone who looked to be destroying Trump ballots, that those are fake videos. But Caroline, I want to ask you one last question. When Donald Trump was speaking today to that rally, when he talks about the violence, when he's talking about a shooter, to get to him would have to shoot through the fake news, and that, frankly, he'd be okay with that? That's what Donald Trump is saying to his supporters 2 days out before the election, Caroline. Are those the kind of statements that are from the campaign, the official statements? Those are his closing remarks to American voters today?
He was making a joke
about a shooter shooting through the fake news media?
And it's obviously he was joking. If you go back and watch the clip, and it's so exhausting that the mainstream media, including ABC News, picks apart every single word that Donald Trump says when the majority of his speeches are focused on the issues that Americans care about: the economy, tackling inflation, securing the border, ending the immigration invasion at our southern border, restoring peace throughout this world. We are on the brink of World War III right now because of the incompetent and weak foreign policy of the Harris-Biden administration. And that's what President Trump talks about. He has real policy solutions to fix these problems. And that's why voters trust him on every single issue, because they know that Donald Trump, you might not like everything he says, but he's going to get what he says done, and he's going to provide real solutions to the problems that people are facing in their lives right now. That's our closing argument to the American people. And again, all signs point to a big victory for President Trump on Tuesday night. We are cautiously optimistic, but we're not taking our foot off the gas. We're going to work hard. President Trump has 7 rallies in the next 2 days, and we're not going to leave any stone unturned. And the good news is the American people do not trust the mainstream media, who constantly take Donald Trump out of context, push hoaxes and lies about him. They are smart enough to see through it, and that's why he's going to win on Tuesday.
Thank you so much, Karoline Leavitt. And just to be clear, we are not taking out of context the president saying today at his rally, to get to me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news, and frankly, I'd be okay with it.